Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome back to the FIDE Candidates in 2024 that's going on now in Toronto in Canada. So after the first calm day where we have seen 4 draws, tough games, the second day was really epic. The second day was, in my opinion, really one of the most incredible days of candidates history, where we have seen 4 decisive games. We have seen 4 winning games, which is really, really crazy in this top high elite level of chess. And we're starting now with the game that I think had really great ideas, had also many ups and downs. It's a game between Nepomniachtchi against Alireza FIrouzja. Nepomniachtchi, of course, won twice already. The candidates also was twice the World Chess Championship challenger. Alireza FIrouzja didn't have a good time so far in his candidates performances. He's always a player that we're expecting that he could do something, but of course he has to show it also on the board. Nepomniachtchi is of course an experienced player. Let's see now what happened. In my opinion, really the most spectacular game from the round 2 of the candidates 2024. So with the white pieces, Nepomniachtchi opened with the move e4. Alireza's response was e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to b5. The Ruy Lopez, the Spanish game, is on the board. Knight to f6, the Berlin defense. d3, fixing the structure. Bishop to c5, c3, with the preparation, of course, to hit the center later with the move d4. Kingside castling also by Nepo, and now d5 by Alireza. E takes d5, knight to d5 leaves here a little bit a weak pawn on in Nepo's position, but it's always defendable. Queen to c2, rook to d1. Bishop is already covering that, so far nothing to worry here for white. Bishop to c4, Nepo kicks away the queen. Queen to d8, we have b4, kicking away the bishop. Bishop to e7, and now knight from b to d2. a6, a4. Nepo continues the pressure here on the queen side, wants of course also to create dynamics. Bishop to a3, bishop to b2, maybe d4 in some line. So great flexible line here by white. Bishop to f5. Alireza continues the pressure against the weakness on d3. Queen to c2, and now knight to d5. Here Alireza wants to jump with the knight on a beautiful square on f4. From that square, of course, there are many chances to attack white's position. So that's why knight to e4, liberating now the diagonal for the dark square bishop. If knight to f4 happens, I think Nepo would immediately take out the knight here on f4. We have bishop to g4, and now already the fun starts. Nepo probably, I think, he has this somewhere prepared at home, maybe not even for the candidates this year, but somewhere in his deep theoretical lines that he's probably studied at home. He plays now a very interesting idea. Queen to a2 has been played only once in chess history, hitting the knight on d5. Here, of course, Alireza FIrouzja retreats, and now bishop to b3. Here Nepo wants to stay with the bishop here on the board, leaves now even the d3 pawn unprotected. Alireza goes what is supposed to be the suggested line here. Also, the engine suggests that you should take. Nothing wrong with that, but it's a tricky line because the position is really exploding now. So after g takes f3, here we have problems, of course, in white's position. White has now many structural weaknesses in front of the king, but has now the powerful bishop pair that's targeting now black's king. And we should also notice something, that the knights are far away from the action here. The knights are supposed to be somewhere here, maybe knight on f6, knight on g6. If that would be the case, I think then it would be a much more powerful position for black. But now Nepo wants to get use of his amazing bishop pair, leaves even the d3 pawn unprotected. Alireza takes it, although in one game, as I said, that I mentioned in chess history, queen to d7 has been played with the continuation a5, kicking away, and then queen to e2. White actually won the game, but Alireza took the pawn. Also, so far, nothing wrong. We have now a completely new move. In this theory, we have now king to g2. Nepo connects now the king to the pawn, queen to d7, and now here Nepo shows his cards. The beauty about this line is that actually you get many tempi against the queen. You get many great developing moves, because black is always forced to play with the queen. Now we have here really the opportunity even to occupy the g file. Bishop is targeting here. This bishop could come into the game. We have already occupied the d file. So many, I would say, good compensation, I would say, for the lost pawn, but also for the weakened pawn structure in front of white's king. So we have now, after queen to e8, a stunning move by Nepo. Although the engine says you should not play it, but I kind of like this move because with this move, Nepo showed that he is going for the win here. He plays now the most aggressive h4. This is the way to go. The problem here for black is that you cannot take. Bishop to h4 is not working. You get this one. Rook to h1. You have to step back, and now we're targeting simply the h7 weakness. For instance, in a bad line, if you could just imagine maybe an imaginary position here, knight to d7, that would be the issue. Rook takes h7. A dirty sort of Greek tactic with knight to g5, double check, and you get checkmated on h7. But even if you, instead of this move, knight to d7, play something like g6 to lock the light square diagonal, then you're facing dark square problems. That's the issue. You cannot basically cover both of these diagonals. Then you maybe try something like g5, then this diagonal will be open. So as I said, tough position. f5 is not possible because of the stunning activity of the light square bishop. So nothing to do here for black. So after move h4, really interesting idea here by Nepo, knight to c8. Good move by Alireza, getting, as I said, a new defender into the game because the knights are simply too far away from the action of on the king side. We have now h5. Nepo is trying now to play the move h6, and I would say now here Alireza makes a tiny little first inaccuracy in the game. He plays now the move king to h8. Of course, you want to get out of this g-file mess. Of course, you want to secure the king further, but a better choice was simply to play h6, not allow h6 by white, because now after something like knight to g3, now you can play king to h8, and now after knight to f5, for instance, if the knight gets on this active square, you can always compete with knight to d6, and I think this should be a solid position for black, at least with a better defensive structure in front of the king, with a better, healthier pawn structure in front of the king. So after king to h8, of course, Nepo says thank you, because now after move g5 that Alireza played, now this diagonal gets opened. And as I said, the main strength of white's position is the amazing bishop here. So I think here Alireza got a little bit tricked by Nepo. We have queen to d2, knight to d6, bishop to b2. Now, again, I think here Alireza had the opportunity to lock the diagonal with the move f6. Still, even in this position, black should be slightly better. But now Alireza makes another inaccuracy. He plays now the move knight to f5. Seems tempting. You want, of course, to attack the pawn. You want, of course, also to play knight to h4, getting the check maybe against the king. You want somehow to include your pieces. But I think, first of all, Alireza should have secured his position in front of the king, especially on this diagonal. This was, I think, the must move here for Alireza. But after knight to f5, now Nepo played a stunning, beautiful move that I think not so many players would see. He plays now the amazing queen to d7. He notices this also problems by Alireza FIrouzja on the 7th rank. Let's see now options. Of course, you can say now, okay, what you're talking about, this pawn is hanging, we can deliver a check, we can trade off the queens. But let's see, for instance, if you try here, knight takes h6, then there is this problem, b5. We attack the knight, we stay on this diagonal. That's the most important thing, to stay, not allow the king also to go to g8. This is, as I said, this wasn't played in the game, but let's see now what would have happened after a potential knight to h6. Now if you try f5, knight to g3, you maybe take, and now after something like f4, we can always play knight to e4, maybe knight to f5, you're trying again to get the knight into the game, but now c4, very dangerous. You try bishop to d6, we take, we kick away the bishop. Look at this, there's simply no good defense for the pawn on e5. You're trying to stay connected, but now we get this one, knight takes g5, bishop to c5, rook is coming, and I would not love to play this position here around the square h7 anymore. This is game over here for black. So even if you take here, instead of knight to h6, if you take here queen to d7, then the problem is, as I said, here the attack of white on the 7th rank. You can maybe try to defend it, but now we try to trade it off. Knight to g3, f takes g3, rook to d8, and now we include simply this other rook into the game. The bishop here in such an open, dynamic, wild position is much better, of course, than the bishop and the knight. You maybe try bishop to f8 to somehow get your bishop against this pawn on h6. We simply play b5 again after a couple of trades of pieces. Look at this, this bishop is coming into the game. There's simply no good defense against f4. Here I think white should be winning the game. Of course, e takes f4 is not working. Bishop takes f6 is immediately checkmate. If you play g takes f4, then g takes f4 again leads into complication. Here for black, I would even dare to say game over here for black. So queen to d7, stunning, beautiful, spectacular move here by young Nepomniachtchi. Knight to h4, that's why by Alireza, he didn't take the pawn, he didn't go for this trade of queens after knight to h4, king to f1, here by Nepo, getting out also of the potential g-file attack, f5 by Alireza, knight to g3, knight takes f3. So although Alireza made a couple inaccuracies, still he is in the game, because if he plays now everything correctly, he could get a draw, I would say here. But now here from knight to f3 and b5, that of course Nepo played, again activating the bishop here, again kicking away the knight. We have now the move f4, knight to e4. Now Alireza makes another mistake in this game, and I would even say this was even the crucial mistake which from which Alireza never recovered in the continuation of the game. Here he played knight to a5. Here he was under too much pressure against the knight, but the better choice was simply to play queen to h5. And I would say after queen to h5, the game should probably end with a draw, because after b takes c6, now we have this one, you deliver a check, the king drops back, and you check, king to g2, again you check, white is trying to escape, we play knight to f5, bishop to d5 would have been the most powerful continuation here for white, the only continuation. For instance, if you try bishop to e6 here, then we deliver a check and you lose the knight on e4. So that's why you would have to play in this imaginary line with the move bishop to d5. But now after b takes c6, you have to give up simply here the piece again, because there's simply also too much pressure on the d file. The queen is coming. Then we can also take, so too much pressure here against white's position. Now after a couple of checks, maybe new check, you're trying to escape, takes, you take this one. Now maybe after queen to d5, queen to f7. That's the line, for instance, that the Stockfish engine suggests, queen to f7. And as I said, this should be an equal continuation for both sides. The only way to defend for Alireza was now to play the move queen to h5. But he played knight to a5, got a little bit scared by this attack by young Nepomniachtchi. We have bishop to e6. Now, again, here g4. At least you're doing something. At least Alireza should have somehow continued to play this game, because after something like c4, you're trying maybe knight to b3, king to g2. And in this scenario, you could maybe even lock the dark square diagonal. So again, Alireza missed some dynamic opportunities, some dynamic defensive ideas to somehow cover this diagonal. In a wild line, maybe white could sacrifice here the exchange, but now we take, maybe lose this one. So still complicated to play, but even in after bishop to e6, Alireza had this opportunity to play g4 and then to somehow continue this solid defensive setup around the square d4 to somehow defend the king. But instead of this move, he played now a bad move, queen to g6, and from this point on, I would say this is a one-way ticket really in white's favor, almost impossible anymore to defend. Of course, Nepo takes. Why shouldn't he take? There's simply no danger against the queen. Queen takes h6. Here, Alireza calculated that he could maybe deliver some dangerous checks, but actually, Nepo covered it everything. He had here really a great calculation. He played now bishop to f7. We have a new check, king to e2, queen to f5. We have now bishop to d5, covering, of course, the d file. That's also very important to say, because after rook from a to e8, Nepo simply takes here the pawn d7. We have queen to g4, indirectly hitting the king, but now a beautiful move here by Nepo, king to d3. Everything is glued together, everything is compact. c4, here Alireza tried a desperate move, a rook takes d5, but it's actually not working. C takes d5, queen to h3, again with some ideas to deliver the dangerous checks, but again Nepo keeps it calm. Knight to g3. Here the issue is if you try f takes g3, then bishop to e5 would simply happen. Knight to e5, queen to e5 solves all of the positional problems. We take also this pawn afterwards. Maybe we can also take this pawn. So again, game over here for black. After knight to g3, we have knight to c4 by Alireza FIrouzja. Queen takes c4. We have now f takes g3, f takes g3. Even if you take queen to g3, then king to c2 again solves all of the tactical problems. We'll simply escape towards the square a2, and there's simply no good check anymore for black. After f takes g3, we have a takes b5, a takes b5. Of course, Alireza is trying to battle. We have now rook to h1, beautiful counterattack, queen to d7, queen to e4, with more pressure against the pawn on e5, king to g8, we have king to e3. Now Nepo is running towards the knight on f3. We have knight to d4, and after bishop to d4. In this particular position, Alireza FIrouzja resigned. So too many mistakes by Alireza. Nepo punished that, but we have to say it. Risky line also by Nepo with this aggressive method in the beginning to push the pawn on h4. We have seen could have been defended here with h6. I think after this move, Nepo would have also problems to continue the pressure. But as I said, brave idea. I think in the candidates, the bravest are the ones that who make anything in this tournament, because you have to try, you have to spice it up somehow, especially with the white pieces. So deserved win, of course, for Jan Nepomniachtchi, and he is now again the top favorite to win the thing, because he has now a great win against a great player like Alireza FIrouzja. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Berlin defense. If you want to see some other coverage here on my YouTube chess channel, check out our Come to Chess Games, but also our Come to Chess Games played by computers. Here's the link of our playlist. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos. And what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.